polished silver tray spun through the air, striking the marble floor with a crack that echoed through the room. Crystal glasses shattered. Chairs scraped backwards.
No questions about guests. No repeating what you hear.
A man built like a heavyweight fighter staggered 2 steps before crashing onto his back, his right hand frozen halfway inside his jacket. Every conversation inside the room died instantly. More than 100 pairs of eyes locked onto the young waitress standing over him, breathing steadily as if nothing extraordinary had happened. Then the oldest man at the table leaned forward, his voice barely above a whisper. Who taught her to do that? Nobody answered. Because exactly 11 seconds earlier, she had been invisible. If you've ever seen someone underestimated until the exact moment everything changed, tap the like button and let this story remind you why appearances can be dangerously misleading. The woman everyone was staring at was 26-year-old Emma Carter. She wasn't famous. She wasn't wealthy. She wasn't looking for trouble. She was only trying to earn enough money to stop her younger brother from losing his chance to walk again. Security guards rushed across the polished floor, but none of them reached the fallen man before another voice stopped them. Stand down. The command wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. Every guard froze as though they had rehearsed that moment 100 times. The man who had spoken remained seated, one hand resting calmly beside an untouched glass of sparkling water. His charcoal suit looked ordinary until someone noticed its perfect tailoring. His expression revealed almost nothing, yet everyone in the room watched him before they looked anywhere else. His name was Nathaniel Drake. Few people recognized his face. The ones who did never forgot it. Nathaniel looked at Emma instead of the man lying on the floor. Are you hurt? She blinked, surprised that was his first question. No. You. He gave the faintest smile. I asked first. I'm fine. Only then did Nathaniel nod toward the unconscious attacker. And him. Emma glanced down. He'll wake up. There was another pause. Eventually. Several guests exchanged uneasy looks. Nobody laughed. Because she didn't sound proud. She sounded certain. The unconscious man's fingers twitched, but before anyone could speak again, the story pulled backwards to the beginning of the night, where none of them had realized they were walking toward those 11 unforgettable seconds. Earlier that afternoon, Emma sat beside a hospital bed watching 17-year-old Liam Carter struggle to keep his eyes open after another operation. Machines hummed softly around him. His left leg was wrapped in thick bandages from hip to ankle. He forced a smile when he saw her. You skipped lunch again. Emma rolled her eyes. And somehow you're still bossing me around. You look tired. I look expensive. He laughed, then immediately winced. Don't make me laugh. Then stop trying. The smile faded between them. Neither wanted to mention the envelope lying unopened on the bedside table. The hospital's latest invoice. Liam stared at the ceiling. I heard the nurse. Emma said nothing. They're waiting for another payment. We'll manage. You always say that. Because we always do. He looked directly at her. What? If it gets too much. She interrupted before he could finish. Don't. I don't want you ruining your life because of me. She leaned closer. You are my life. Silence filled the room. After their parents died 8 years earlier, promises like that weren't dramatic. They were simply facts. Emma checked her phone. 1 missed call. Unknown number. 1 voicemail. She stepped into the corridor before listening. Miss Carter, this is Adrian Wells. Your application has been accepted. Tonight. 7 o'clock. Blackwood Society. Formal attire. Bring identification. Be punctual. The message ended. No explanation. No company details. Nothing. Emma frowned. She barely remembered applying. Over the previous month, she had submitted applications everywhere: cafes, hotels, restaurants, private events, cleaning companies, any place offering extra shifts. She searched the name online. Nothing. No website. No reviews. No address except a location pinned inside the city's financial district. It felt strange. But strange paid better than ordinary. She kissed Liam's forehead before leaving. "I'll be back after work." He caught her wrist. "Promise me something." "What?" "If it feels wrong." She smiled. "I'll leave." He held her gaze a second longer. "I mean it." "So do I." Neither of them realized that promise would be tested before midnight. Just before 7, Emma stood outside an old stone building squeezed between two modern office towers. The brass plaque beside the entrance contained only 3 words: Blackwood Society. No logo. No advertisement. Just a polished black door. A man wearing white gloves opened it before she knocked. "Miss Carter." "Yes. We've been expecting you." Inside, another employee collected her phone, smartwatch, and even the wireless earbuds in her handbag. "We'll return these when your shift ends." Emma hesitated. "Is that necessary?" "It's mandatory." She handed them over. Another employee scanned her identification. "First shift. Is it obvious?" The woman smiled politely. "You looked at the exit before the chandelier." Emma hadn't realized she'd done that. She followed the woman through quiet corridors lined with paintings that carried no signatures. Every door required a different key. Every hallway seemed designed to confuse newcomers. Eventually, they entered a staff room where about 20 employees prepared for service. Nobody chatted. Nobody laughed. Everyone seemed unusually alert. A sharply dressed manager entered precisely at 7. "My name is Oliver Grant. Listen carefully because I won't repeat myself." The room fell silent. "There are 4 rules." He raised one finger. "You never ask guests what they do." Another finger. "You never repeat anything you hear." A third. "You never interrupt a conversation unless someone's life depends on it." Several employees exchanged puzzled looks. Oliver noticed. "Yes," he said calmly. "That rule exists for a reason." Then he lifted the final finger. "And finally, if another member of staff tells you to walk away, you walk away immediately. No questions." Emma felt a chill she couldn't explain. Someone near the back raised a hand. "What kind of people come here?" Oliver answered without hesitation. "The kind who expect privacy. Politicians." I said no questions. The briefing ended. Everyone dispersed. As Emma tied on her apron, an older waitress quietly approached. "You should know something." Emma looked up. "What?" "If a guest seems ordinary." She lowered her voice. "They're usually the most important person in the room." Before Emma could ask what she meant, the woman disappeared through the service doors. Minutes later, the dining hall came alive. No orchestra. No announcements. Guests simply appeared. Some arrived alone. Others in pairs. None spoke loudly. Every movement carried quiet confidence. Emma recognized almost nobody. Yet, she sensed they all recognized one another. She carried drinks, cleared plates, and memorized faces without trying to. A man wearing a navy suit never touched the wine poured for him. A woman changed seats twice despite having the best view in the room. 2 guests greeted each other warmly, but never once smiled. Something about the place felt rehearsed. Calculated. Then the atmosphere shifted. No alarm sounded. No one made an announcement. But conversation softened almost instantly. Heads turned toward the entrance. A tall man walked in carrying no phone, no briefcase, and no visible security. His suit was elegant without being flashy. His watch was plain. His shoes were polished. Nothing about him demanded attention. Yet somehow, everyone gave it to him. Oliver hurried toward Emma. "Table 12. Who is he?" Oliver's expression hardened. "Just do your job." Emma picked up a menu and walked toward the corner table. The man looked up before she spoke. His gray eyes studied her for barely a second. Then he closed the menu without opening it. "I was wondering when they'd assign you to my table." Emma's smile faltered. "I'm sorry, have we met?" He leaned back calmly. No. Then how did you know they'd assign me? Nathaniel Drake folded his hands together. Because you've been watching every exit since you arrived, and now I'm wondering why. Emma felt her heartbeat quicken. For the first time that evening, she realized someone had been watching her just as carefully. And before she could answer, a broad-shouldered stranger stepped through the entrance, scanned the room once, and smiled as though he had finally found exactly who he was looking for. The stranger didn't hurry. That was the first thing Emma noticed. People rushing into a room usually carried panic. This man carried certainty. Every step was measured, almost lazy, as though he already knew exactly how the evening would end. Nathaniel noticed him too. He didn't turn his head. He didn't stiffen. He simply reached for his glass of water, taking one slow sip before placing it back on the table. Emma lowered her voice. Do you know him? Nathaniel answered without looking away. I was hoping he wouldn't come. The words were calm. The meaning wasn't. Before Emma could ask another question, Oliver appeared beside her carrying another bottle of sparkling water. Emma. Yes. Serve table 7. She frowned. But I'm assigned. I know. His voice became firmer. Table 7. Now. Emma glanced back at Nathaniel. For the first time all evening, she saw something unusual. He wasn't looking at the stranger anymore. He was watching her, almost as though he wanted to see whether she would obey. She carried the tray toward table 7, but every instinct told her something was wrong. Her uncle had spent years teaching her that fear sounded loud. Danger didn't. Danger whispered. Halfway across the dining room, she caught a reflection in one of the enormous mirrors. The stranger wasn't walking toward the reception desk. He wasn't greeting anyone. He had changed direction. Toward table 12. Toward Nathaniel. Emma kept moving. Outwardly. Inside, her mind raced. Years earlier, her uncle had drilled one lesson into her until she hated hearing it. Don't watch the hands. She had rolled her eyes. Then what do I watch? The shoulders. Why? They move first. And if I miss them, you'll always be too late. She remembered laughing back then. She wasn't laughing now. The stranger's shoulders looked relaxed. Too relaxed. Emma placed the bottle onto table 7. Excuse me. One guest smiled. You're new. Is it that obvious? You still look surprised by this place. She almost replied. Instead, she caught another reflection. The stranger had stopped beside Nathaniel's table. No greeting. No handshake. Nothing. Just silence. Emma's stomach tightened. Nathaniel finally looked up. Evening, Victor. So you remember me. I remember everyone who mistakes violence for intelligence. Victor smiled. It wasn't friendly. It seems retirement hasn't improved your manners. I never retired. Emma froze. Retired from what? Victor leaned one hand against the table. You've become difficult to reach. I intended that. You've been ignoring messages. I receive many messages. The organization doesn't appreciate being ignored. Nathaniel's expression never changed. I'm sure they'll survive the disappointment. Nearby conversation slowed. Several guests quietly pushed back their chairs. Not because anyone had raised their voice. Because something invisible had entered the room. Emma noticed another detail. Nobody from security moved. Not one. Almost as if they'd been ordered to wait. Victor chuckled. I came to offer you one final opportunity. Nathaniel folded his napkin. And if I decline? Victor looked around the room. It would be unfortunate. Emma heard enough. Every nerve in her body screamed the same warning. Leave. Walk away. Exactly as Oliver had instructed. But another memory interrupted. Liam lying in a hospital bed. I don't want you ruining your life because of me. She had promised she'd leave if something felt wrong. Yet leaving now felt worse. She looked toward Oliver. He was pale. He wasn't stopping Victor. He wasn't calling security. He simply stood frozen. Emma realized something terrifying. Everyone in the room expected someone else to act. No one intended to be that person. Victor leaned closer. You know why I'm here. Nathaniel answered quietly. I know why they sent you. And? They underestimated me. Victor's smile widened. No. His eyes shifted. They underestimated her. Emma's heartbeat skipped. For a fraction of a second, Victor looked directly at her. Not by accident. Deliberately. Nathaniel saw it too. His voice sharpened for the first time. Emma. She looked at him. Go. One word. Simple. Firm. She should have listened. Instead, she noticed Victor's right shoulder dip. Barely an inch. Then his elbow tightened against his ribs. Her uncle's voice echoed inside her head. Shoulders first. Time seemed to stretch. Her breathing slowed. Every sound disappeared except her heartbeat. She wasn't thinking anymore. She was recognizing a pattern she'd repeated thousands of times in training. Across the room, one waiter dropped a fork. The tiny metallic clink sounded impossibly loud. Victor's hand disappeared inside his jacket. Emma moved. The tray left her hand before anyone understood why. It spun through the air. Victor instinctively lifted his left arm. Exactly as she'd hoped. His attention broke for less than a second. She closed the distance. One step. Pivot. Her forearm trapped his wrist before his hand emerged. His balance shifted backwards. He reacted quickly. Far quicker than any ordinary man. He tried driving his shoulder into her chest. She redirected the force. His own momentum carried him sideways. A dull metallic object slipped halfway from his jacket. Not a phone. Not a wallet. Several guests gasped. Nathaniel didn't move. His eyes stayed fixed on Emma. Victor growled. Big mistake. Emma answered through clenched teeth. No. You already made yours. He twisted violently. Stronger than she expected. For a split second she thought she might lose control. Then she remembered something else. Her uncle smiling after knocking her onto the training mat. Strength gets tired. What wins then? Timing. She shifted her grip. Victor's wrist bent just enough. His fingers opened involuntarily. The object flew across the polished floor. It slid beneath another table. Someone screamed. Only then did the room explode into chaos. Guests scrambled away. Chairs crashed together. Glasses shattered. Victor roared and lunged. Emma stepped inside his reach instead of away from it. His eyes widened. She hooked one foot behind his ankle, turned her hips, used his own weight. The enormous man crashed onto the marble with a thunderous impact. His head struck the floor. Silence. 11 seconds. That was all it had taken. Emma stood frozen. Her breathing finally caught up with her. What have I done? Victor groaned but didn't get up. Security rushed forward at last. Except, they weren't pointing their weapons at Emma. They surrounded Victor. One guard retrieved the metallic object from beneath the table. His expression changed instantly. He looked toward Nathaniel. It's real. Nathaniel nodded once. I assumed it would be. Emma stared between them. What is going on? No one answered. Instead, a gray-haired woman at a nearby table slowly stood. She looked at Emma with genuine astonishment. I've been coming here for 23 years, she said softly. I've never seen anyone stop Victor Cross. Another guest shook his head. I didn't even know anyone could. If you think you would have stepped in, or if you believe most people would have frozen under that kind of pressure, drop a comment below. Sometimes a single decision made in seconds changes an entire life. Emma looked at Nathaniel. You knew he was dangerous. I suspected. You told me to leave. I did. Why? His answer came without hesitation. Because I didn't want an innocent person caught in the middle. She laughed once. Not because anything was funny. Innocent. Nathaniel looked directly into her eyes. No. He spoke so quietly only she could hear. I don't think you've been innocent for a very long time. Before Emma could ask what he meant, Victor began laughing from the floor. It wasn't the laugh of a defeated man. It was the laugh of someone who knew something nobody else did. He slowly lifted his head, blood trickling from his forehead, and locked eyes with Nathaniel. You really think, he whispered, I came here alone? The entire room went still. Then every light inside the Blackwood Society suddenly went out. The darkness swallowed the Blackwood Society in an instant. For 3 seconds, nobody moved. 3 seconds was all it took for panic to spread. A glass shattered somewhere near the bar. A chair scraped violently across the floor. Several guests whispered in fear, but nobody screamed. Not because they weren't afraid. Because everyone in that room understood something Emma didn't. A power outage inside the Blackwood Society wasn't an accident. Nathaniel Drake stood slowly. His calm expression was gone. For the first time that night, Emma saw something beneath the control. Concern. Not for himself. For everyone else. Nobody moves, Nathaniel said. His voice cut through the darkness. The room obeyed instantly. Emma stood beside him, trying to understand what was happening. Was this planned? Nathaniel didn't answer immediately. That silence told her enough. Mr. Drake. He looked at her. How many people are here tonight? She glanced around. I don't know. Maybe 100. Look again. She frowned. What? Look. It sounded strange. But she did. Not at the guests. At the details. The exits. The reflections. The movement. Her eyes adjusted to the darkness. And then she noticed something. 3 employees who had been serving drinks moments earlier were no longer moving like employees. They weren't scared. They were positioned. Watching. Waiting. Emma whispered. They're not staff. Nathaniel looked at her. How did you notice? Their shoes. A brief silence. Their shoes. Servers spend all night walking. Their shoes were too clean. For the first time that evening, Nathaniel almost smiled. Almost. That's exactly why I noticed you. Emma stared at him. What does that mean? It means you don't see what people want you to see. Before she could respond, emergency lights flickered on. The room changed. But not in the way anyone expected. Victor Cross was gone. The guards surrounding him were standing there confused. One of them looked at Nathaniel. He disappeared. Emma looked at the empty floor. How? Nathaniel's expression hardened. Because he was never trying to escape. A cold feeling moved through her. What was he trying to do? Nathaniel looked toward the entrance. Create a distraction. The doors at the far end of the room opened. A man entered. Older. Calm. Well-dressed. Almost polite. The kind of person nobody would notice in a crowd. Until they saw everyone else become nervous around him. Nathaniel's jaw tightened. Adrian Vale. Emma looked between them. Who is that? Nathaniel didn't take his eyes off the man. The reason I stopped attending meetings like this. Adrian smiled. Nathaniel. The room became silent again. You always did have a talent for making enemies. Nathaniel replied. You always did have a talent for pretending you weren't one. Adrian laughed softly. Still sharp. His eyes moved to Emma. And who is this? Nobody answered. That seemed to interest him more. The waitress. The way he said it sounded insulting. Emma expected to feel embarrassed. Instead, she felt something different. Anger. Because she had spent years being invisible. But tonight, invisibility had saved her. Adrian stepped closer. I heard someone unexpected interrupted Victor. His eyes stayed on Emma. I wanted to see who. Nathaniel moved slightly in front of her. A protective gesture. Small. But obvious. Adrian noticed. So that's interesting. What? You never protect people. Nathaniel's face remained unreadable. Maybe you never knew me as well as you thought. For several moments, nobody spoke. Then Adrian smiled. You're right. He looked at Emma. But I know something about her. Emma's expression changed. What? Adrian reached into his coat. Several guards immediately raised their weapons. But Adrian only removed a small envelope. He placed it on the nearest table. Ask her about her uncle. Emma froze. The room disappeared. What did you say? Adrian smiled. Ask her why a waitress with no security background can recognize professional movements. Nathaniel looked at Emma. And for the first time, he looked uncertain. Emma. She didn't answer. Because suddenly she remembered. Her uncle never talked about his past. Not fully. Whenever she asked about the years before he raised her, he changed the subject. She only knew one thing. He had enemies. People who occasionally called. People who made him disappear for days. People he refused to explain. Adrian looked satisfied. You thought he was teaching you discipline. He pointed at the envelope. He was preparing you. Emma stepped forward. Who is my uncle? Nobody answered. Not even Nathaniel. That frightened her more than anything, because powerful people lied easily. But silence from powerful people meant the truth was dangerous. Adrian walked toward the exit. Enjoy your new discovery. Nathaniel watched him leave. You're letting him go? No. Nathaniel looked at the guards. He's leaving because he wants us to follow. Emma picked up the envelope. It felt heavier than paper. Inside was an old photograph. Her uncle, standing beside Nathaniel Drake. Both younger. Both wearing expressions she had never seen before. Serious. Focused. Ready. Her hands trembled. You knew him? Nathaniel looked at the photograph. Yes. How? A long pause. Your uncle saved my life. Emma swallowed. Then why didn't you tell me? Because he asked me not to. Why? Nathaniel looked at her. Because he knew one day someone would come looking for you. The words hit harder than she expected. Someone like Adrian? Nathaniel nodded. And Victor. Emma stepped back. All night, she thought she had discovered a hidden world. Now she realized something worse. The hidden world had already known her. She wasn't a random waitress who walked into danger. She was the person danger had been searching for. Days later, Emma sat beside Liam's hospital bed again. But this time, something was different. The fear wasn't controlling her. The hospital bills had been paid. The doctors had a new treatment plan. Liam noticed immediately. What happened? Emma smiled. Someone helped us. Who? She looked out the window. I don't know exactly. That wasn't completely true. She knew Nathaniel Drake. She knew Adrian Vale. She knew her uncle had left behind secrets. But she still didn't understand why she had been chosen. Liam studied her face. You look different. Different how? Like you're not waiting for something bad to happen. She smiled. Maybe I'm not. 3 months later, Emma walked through the doors of a building she never imagined entering. No apron. No serving tray. No need to apologize for taking up space. She wore a simple black suit. Nathaniel walked beside her. Last chance to change your mind. Emma looked ahead. About what? About stepping into this world. She smiled slightly. I've been in this world since the night I walked into Blackwood society. Nathaniel nodded. Fair answer. Her first assignment wasn't protecting a billionaire. It wasn't standing behind someone powerful. It was something much harder. Observing. Listening. Noticing what everyone else missed. The same skill that had saved a room full of strangers. The same skill that had changed her life. Months later, people still underestimated her. They saw a former waitress. A quiet woman. Someone ordinary. They never saw the years of discipline. The patience. The courage. The 11 seconds that revealed who she truly was. Because sometimes the person everyone ignores is the person who changes everything. And Emma Carter learned that being invisible wasn't weakness. Sometimes it was the greatest advantage anyone could have. If this story showed that courage isn't always about being the strongest person in the room, leave a like, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more unforgettable stories about ordinary people who discover extraordinary strength when the world least expects it.